Good morning, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party. My buddy Rhett, and I got our very, very, very last hazelnut. I don't think there'll be another hazelnut for a long time because this is the last of the nuts that we bought last time, this time last year. Um, and we have new nuts that we bought this year. There you go. And um, I don't know if it looks like Rhett's not even on the screen. She's off screen. Um, so I've been working on this project for like a whole year. Like it'll be a year in 11 days, and I have not gotten much done. Um, there have been some massive, massive changes in my view of things. Um, I would say the biggest change was that I didn't know anything about end-to-end testing. Not really. I'd played with it a little bit. I've worked in a couple of places where they completely botched end-to-end testing. Um, So, in general, it seemed really good. I always kind of likened it to the part in the Jurassic Park where they say, uh, where they're showing, where I think it was Jurassic Park 3, where they're looking at dinosaurs and people are going, ooh, and then Malcolm, one of the main character of that version of that sequel, um, says, "Oh yeah, no, that's how it always starts. Ooh, you see dinosaurs. Look at that dinosaurs." And then next thing you know, it's run for your life. Blah blah blah. That's kind of how end-to-end testing always seemed like to me. It was like everyone loved it. It always blew everybody's minds. And then next thing you know, it was just a nightmare to deal with. Um, End-to-end testing has absolutely been invaluable to this project. I do not think that I would be as far along as I am without end-to-end testing, and that is because once I capture a feature in an end-to-end test, that feature is locked. Um, if uh, if it if I do something that breaks that whenever I'm working on something else, the end-to-end test exposes it very, very quickly, and that is just like I love that. I think that's great. I would say with unit tests. I decided to do that on this one, and my attitude at the beginning of this project was that unit tests. I was neutral, leaning heavily to negative on unit tests. I thought unit tests were a pretty neat concept, great idea, but in general, a bad idea to do, a bad actual thing to do in actual reality, and that's because um, it just seemed like they just took so much time and then they would kind of take your eye off the ball. Like you would lose track of what was really important, which was the actual project working, not the precision and perfection of the code, but the actual project. I think unit tests with end-to-end tests sort of handle both. And then I came to the conclusion that whenever you're writing code, you need to separate time, right? You need to have some time that's specifically all about the precision and elegance of the actual code. And then you had to have, and unit tests is actually the perfect time to do that. Um, if you don't if you don't do that, you will eventually end up with code that's just not maintainable or readable. But there is some time, but you can't always do that. You can't actually code that way to get things working. So what you have to do, and at least what I have to do, is I have to get it working, get all the code working, and then use a round of unit tests to sort of really dig into the individual lines of code and making sure that there's not a single uncovered line of code. Um, and when something does become uncovered, there's probably a good chance that, um, like, if I like this last set of code I did not break a single unit test other than compiling, right? Once I did actually it broke the unit test and all of the breakages made sense. It was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. However it broke, there was never like, wait, why does this break? But I still maintain 100% coverage. So that means I didn't like change the scope of the application. The application scope stayed the same. So there's no reason to really obsess about things in it because like the scope of that. But sometimes you'll add like a whole nother chunk to your code base, and then at that point, you really do need to scope that. Now, I've worked on some other projects, and I have kind of decided that I do like um, the being able to add issues. I think issues is a really good thing. And then the other thing is I started working on CRUD but I did CRDU. And I think the D needs to be before the U if you're going to be doing multiples. So in this application, I could add multiple visualizations. So that means the D has to be very, very um, focused. Um, so I think that and I think what happens is like you build the create and then you build the read, right? So that's the C is create and then read. And then once you have the read, you have more information, so you can go back to the create and fill in any gaps and all that. Back to read, then you go to delete. And then when you go to do the delete, a lot of times you realize, oh, there's something I didn't do quite right in the create or the read. And so you're just constantly going back to the create and kind of working your way through. That's sort of the pattern that I've sort of observed. So I got create, read, delete, and then I went to update. Once I went to update, some massive holes in delete suddenly appeared. And so once I started going down those rabbit holes, massive holes in create started to appear. And as I started building out more things, it's like I keep rotating back and all that. And once I have that full CRUD completely sort of fleshed out and all that, I think I'll have a, the, a really good foundation for this application. So that is sort of how we got to where I'm at right now. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been working on, like, if I go to I hit F12 because I have this big keyboard. If I'm on my laptop, I have to hit Control and Insert to get these tools to pop up. And um, when I do that, I mean, and I believe that varies from project to project, but there's some things that I know I absolutely need to do. And I think the next thing that I wanted to work on was in these objects, I have these, let's see, in mesh, for example, I have these full-blown objects, and I believe it's just in mesh and material. I think all the rest of them um, are good. And so I think I need to update these so that instead of having the full reference to the object, I just have I have code in a service for the object. So I have a three mesh service. I have code in that so that I can say, hey, go ahead and give me my mesh, my three mesh. So I just want to verify that that is how it actually works. So I have my services, I have my entities, and I'm guessing inside of entities, so I have ST and three, and inside of three, I have a material. I think material was the one we're looking at. And so inside of material service, what I want to have is a material dictionary like that, and I want it to be defined. Um, and then I want to say get material by ID, and that will return the material. So I already have it all, most of it built out. I do need to do set a site, a um, a dictionary. I need to create a type, a type for this dictionary, which I've already sort of laid the groundwork for that too. So because I have a dictionaries here, and inside of dictionaries, I think I have like a base dictionaries. I don't know where that is. Yeah, so inside of this, I have base. In my interfaces, I have base, and then I have dictionaries, and in here I have different kinds of dictionaries. Now it kind of seems like I'm not sure. I kind of like this better, just having everything in base. But it was more natural to well, okay, yeah, because I was thinking dictionaries are going to go across different things, but this is a dictionary for the ST. So maybe I should move these sort of more specific, less basic dictionaries, not primitive dictionaries, to their own into this other area, this dictionaries under ST, since these are all, well, so these are ST specific, but this is not ST specific. Let's see. See, this one is no. So it almost feels like I need to have, like, if to really geek out on this, what I need is an Angular dictionary that would have this, because this is an Angular idea. So maybe a good refactor should come in, and that'll probably, like, I'll probably have this conversation with myself a million times, but that is not like at the top of my list right now is to get rid of, we have two of them, right? So we have, um, I feel like I should merge my getting started into main and then just start breaking these out their own um, into their own branches for individual pieces of work. And then that would make sort of commits a little bit easier because, um, you know, probably would be, yeah, I don't know exactly what I should do. Yeah, so I feel like it would be nice to break these into branches and then like keep the branches. Right now, what I do is I delete the branches because I don't want to have so many. But if we keep the branches, then I can have like all my commits all separated and then have like the super commit that I've been doing, but that would just smush them all and put them back in. So then every commit on the main branch is like a good clean commit that you could roll back to, but any commits that are in any sub branches are that sort of has the history of all the different little commits. But the thing is I don't think it's feasible because I'm going to end up with like hundreds of branches if I do that. So I don't know. I'm going to let that one percolate a little bit more. Maybe next year I'll have a really good thing. But so I want to create a new issue, and this issue is for, let's see, uh, so geometry is good, right? Yeah. So for material, I want to have, why am I so confused here? So, okay, so what is this one? Okay, so this is material, and that one is a problem, and then that one has it, and I believe mesh also has a reference. So I want to remove the reference in mesh, and I want to remove the I want to remove it in material. So I'm going to go ahead and create one issue for each of those, and that one is remove. The title would be like remove uh, reference to uh, three mesh in the ST mesh object. Okay, so right now the ST mesh object has a reference to the ThreeJS mesh object. Okay, we need to that needs to be replaced with a, so the code base in general, the code base, so it needs to be removed. First, it needs to be removed. And second, the code needs to be replaced. Woo! It needs to be refactored. Dude. Wherever the code uses the reference. So basically there's two things. We want to remove it, should be gone, and then there's probably someplace that actually uses it directly. And so that needs, wherever that is, instead of using it directly, it should get the ID, which could very well mean that like there's things that, yeah, so just it needs to use the ID and then use it. So if it has a reference to this object, it has a reference to the mesh ID. So I believe we'll be able to just use that. And so that's my first one. And I kind of want to copy this because the next one, new issue. Instead of mesh, I believe this is material. And then I kind of want to go to, let's open this link in a new tab. Kind of just want to take this one, copy this, there, st material. And then that, I think, still works. Great. So that's two things that I want to get done. Those are the next two things I want to get done. And this will kind of help me track that. Then the next thing after that is, I believe some of these use, well, okay. Okay, so if we get rid of those two, then yes. So another thing that is kind of screwed up is, like, I think in ST renderers, for example, it doesn't have that, but it does use, it goes to the three ST renderer. So okay, so 3 doesn't have a renderer. Visualization, is this the one? So I'm a little confused. So the very first one is a renderer. Yeah, renderer is a 3 thing. Oh, okay, there's the renderer. And if I remember correctly, oh no, I use a renderer's dictionary. Why did I think? I feel like some of these use, like maybe camera uses a, does that use a dictionary? Yes. Does geometry use a dictionary? Okay, so we want to update the geometry dictionary. So camera uses a camera dictionary. But geometry does not. It uses any dictionary. I wonder if I can, okay, so update geometry service. I kind of hate these kinds of to have a strongly typed dictionary like render, like camera and render. I wonder, can I do this? Can I hit Control S? I don't know if you can do this or not. Paste this. Oh yeah, looks like I can. I wonder what the preview looks like. Oh yeah, that's cool. Okay. Let's come over here because like I may not even get to that this week. I might get to it this week. Okay, so if I do this, and then what can I wonder if I can, so this thing popped up over here. Yeah, I think what I can do is I can, oh, you can't even see it though. I wonder if it was, maybe I need to do this. Let's see what happens. And I don't really like that thing. I think I like this thing better. But I think I would rather it be thicker. But I don't know how to make it thicker. So I'm just going to go with this. And I believe it already put it in my, when I do that, because I do this at work all the time, I believe it already put it in my clipboard, but I can definitely do that and put that in my clipboard. Close this and this. So create. And let's see. Let's go through another. So we did camera. Camera's good. Geometry was not the way we want it because it's an any. Let's go to material and see how material is. And see, here's where I would likely do this in as part of, like, when I remove the material, I could, I don't know, maybe not. So, new issue. And I think let's do this. Go to issues, refresh. I'm just going to copy this. Oh, no, wrong one. Kind of wish it did it the other way around. I guess you can just do this. Wonder if it'll remember this. Oldest. I feel like that's the better layout. So the top one, maybe not. I don't. Yeah. I know. I think I want the top one to be the oldest. I hope it remembers it when I come back. It probably does, but maybe not. Here's never change. So this one is material. And it's always like when you're writing stories like this, right? Or bugs or whatever you would call this, issues. It's always very tempting to just like kind of assume that the person who is going to do the task will have done the previous task so they'll know what you're talking about, but that's probably a bad assumption. Um, it always is weird to me because I always used to get really frustrated with these tasks, and I know that like a lot of very seasoned people really um, like doing stuff like this, and they get very into it. Um, and I'm kind of into it now, and I think it's because I see the value in it. Um, and if I remember, like I normally I've in the past tried to like go get the picture of the other thing, but I just have never come up with a good way to do that. Just waiting for the little pop-up to come up for the snippet tool. And copy and create. And let's see, we got so material. Okay, that's one we just did. Mesh. We know renderer is right. I don't think mesh is right. Yeah, this is an any as well. I really do like these things being strongly typed. It just makes it like when you're in the weeds of trying to build uh trying to build stuff out, it just makes it easier to understand things. I feel like this is going to be enough work. This is going to take me through the week. And then I do want to like sort of like as I think of things, create issues for them so I don't forget to do them. I think that's been a bit of a problem. Oh, yeah, that's right. We have the big one at the end, and that is when you delete an object, they should all be deleted. The another one is we need to add like throttling and debouncing to the um or debouncing to the draw to the um thing that prints out the errors. So let me take care of this and I'll explain that. Let's see. Hit this little back button. Maybe not. Maybe go back. Yeah, this. And I think that the chances that someone understands exactly like if they're like if like let's say somebody else was to work on this, the chances that they understand what I mean by this story is probably about 50-50, or this issue is probably about 50-50. And but I do think that it would be super simple, like if they were to reach out and say, "Hey, now what is this?" And you're like, "See how that one?" It would be really easy if they're looking at the issue. If they're looking at this issue, and you're like, "See how this one? Oh, I didn't circle it. Is it any?" And we want that one. Um, we want it to be like this. And they would be, like, "Oh, okay." Um, so I think you can't be like you could spend hours and hours. It's diminishing returns. Okay, so now. Um, we know that the what is that thing called? Let's see, F12 log sequence dictionary function should be debounced. New issue. Debounced. Basically, um, when a um, new visualization visual is created the log. It's called many times back to back, but I only care about the last one. So debouncing should solve this. And then one last one, and yeah, new issue, delete, needs to delete all of the objects. Are part of the visualization. This one's a dangerous one, right? Because we got to keep in mind, don't forget, not as simple as it sounds, because in the future, the objects may be used in multiple places. We have such a good chance of like just painting ourselves into a corner on this one. Like if I places, I'm trying to get out of the we thing. I I started saying we a lot because early on in software development, like maybe after I'd been coding for like 10 years, anytime I would do an interview, they would, if you said I all the time, I did this and I did that, blah, 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 they would always like kind of, whoever you were interviewing would always just assume you're just like a lone gun man, you don't work well with others, blah, 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 blah. Then after like 20 years of development, suddenly whenever you said we all the time, everyone assumed that you actually never wrote any code, that you were part of a team and someone on the team was writing code, but that was not you. And it's just like how a um, word uh, is accepted changes over time, and what the unintentional meanings of it is. And so I'm trying to get back into the I mode where it's like, okay, I wrote this code and I wrote this code for this and that and blah blah blah. So what I don't want to do is like have some sort of blind deleting of that. If I don't mind a blind deleting, but I think I need it that every object gets called to delete. And then in the future, if I need to add code to know whether that object should be deleted, which, yeah, which as long as anything has a reference to it in JavaScript, it won't delete anyways. But, like my reference so that I know, like if I show a list of meshes, I may want to delete it or I may not. May want that mesh to still show up in that. But I definitely want the ThreeJS instance of that mesh to be deleted. So anyways, 7 things. Tomorrow I will start working on number 1. This is interesting. So what if I do this and I hit refresh? I'm just curious what's going to happen. So it is putting the oldest one first, which I think is important because if there's paging, I want to see the one that I care about the most. That's what I care about. Um, Curious if I close this and I go back to GitHub and I go back to my repositories and I go into here. It's kind of wild that well, I guess it's because of the main. I wonder I bet you if I merge to the main branch, it will do that. And I think I should do that. Um, okay, so yeah, I went back to the default. So I'm just going to have to remember to say oldest. And then, so this is what I'm going to work on tomorrow. I'm still kind of wrestling with whether I should take my branch, my getting started branch, and merge it in to the main branch and then make a separate branch for this, or if I should just work on my branch. I probably should do the main branch. Yeah, I should do the main branch. And I think the easiest way to do that, I'm just going to do that right now. Git checkout main. Git pool. I don't think I have anything. And git branch. I only have like 2 branches, so this is actually, ooh. Oh, okay, yeah, that was a branch that never, I think it was only local. It never went anywhere. Getting started. Okay. Git merge getting started. Yeah, this is so cool that this has started to give you those choices. And then hit enter. Let's see. Let me go to the package. Kind of acts like it. And then let's just close others. I guess we should stop this and restart it. Make sure it actually compiles. Because we definitely don't want to push this if this doesn't work. If there's something wrong with this, which I can't see why there would be, because literally there's only 2 branches in the world. There's the main one that this came off of. I don't think I've made any changes, but it was a whole different version of Angular and all that. So it does take it a bit. Yeah, 11 months ago I started working on this. The other nice thing about this would be that like it would actually be feasible if I break these each into their own little branch for somebody else to say, "Oh, I'm going to try that." That's a simple one. Now, I think most people that want to help on this application want to learn about ThreeJS, and I don't think any of these really help with learning about ThreeJS, so it doesn't really help them achieve their goal, which I think is okay. So it did restart, so I'm going to say git push. I don't work on very many. I don't know that I don't think I've ever worked on a like what I just did. You can't do probably if you're working somewhere. You very rarely can you push to the main branch. Usually you're locked out of that, and it's probably a good thing. Um, but I just have so many changes that I want to do that. Okay, so now I think I want to just delete this getting started branch. So that is like a very like the way I did that is a very unprofessional way of merging code. Um, Not from a Git perspective. It's perfectly fine from a Git perspective. But really what we probably want to do is now what I'll do is, and this is kind of my normal, but I'm going to start, one of the things I'm going to start doing is that. Um, so I'm going to do this and I'm going to assign it to myself. And then I'm going to say, and I kind of learned this working on my other projects that I really like this way of doing this. And I'm going to say create a branch. And then I'm going to create the branch. And I had that checkout local, the default there. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to hit Control V. And I'm going to write the code for this. I'm going to update the code for this. I'm going to push this branch out and then I'm going to merge that. I'm going to do a pull request and merge that code back in. So that, and I think that is more of a normal, typical not normal is probably not the right word, but a typical way of doing that in a professional environment. Um, so that is that. So we know what we're working on tomorrow. We're removing a reference to ThreeJS. Um, I think if I could start I mean, I probably should have put a screenshot of the console with that, but that is what I'm working on. That is what is assigned. Um, not that I'm trying to um, like it probably would. I don't know what to think. I think it would. There's really no reason why somebody else, and I'm not trying to encourage or discourage. I'm not trying to do anything like that. But there is no reason why somebody else couldn't just be like, okay, I'm going to assign this issue to myself, pull it out. It's very clear to me what I need to do. This one is actually kind of hard though. It's basically this one, but like this one is super simple, right? Like um, you're going to create a new TypeScript, a strongly typed dictionary, and instead of it being any, you're going to have that there, and there should be no like the risk level difficulty. This is like conceptually probably like a a pretty hard bug, but like actual coding wise, it's a very easy coding job, and um, risk to screwing something up is very low. It's probably almost impossible to screw something up uh, by by implementing this. So that's like this would be probably a good second bug for somebody. Like if I was like working at a place and this was our application, this would be a very good second bug. The first bug would be probably something to like change some text or something. Like I would be like, okay, what would be better? Let's make this add viz with lowercase, reflow with lowercase, like something like that, just so that so that whoever was working on it was like, oh, okay, I kind of get the way we go through our system. And then this would be a really good second bug. And like if they just like knocked it out, it was just super simple. They understood it. Then I think this would be a great third bug, right? Because like debouncing and stuff like that is tricky. And it's like, I would be wondering, right? Here's what I would wonder. Like, okay, I'm going to assign this to someone, and then do I need to explain what debouncing is, or do they already know what it is, or did they not know what it was, but they did all their own research and then figured it out and did it on their own, whatever, like however that is. Um, and then, yeah, like I said, this would probably be a pretty good fourth bug, depending on, or like, okay, so if this person, like, if someone knocked it out and then they did this one, all right, or if they struggled with this one, then this would probably be a good next one. But if they didn't struggle with this one, then this would probably be a good next one. And then this would be one that I would just be afraid to give to somebody else. Um, I think this one has the potential of poison pilling the whole application. So, anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.